Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about something you see every single day, but probably never think twice about. Color. Specifically, how one little aspect of color has a secret power over our decisions. Turns out, it's quietly shaping what you buy and even how you use it.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Is your laundry detergent lying to you? What about that bottle of hand sanitizer on your desk or the all-purpose cleaner under your sink? I know it sounds a little dramatic, right? But the answer is more interesting than just a simple yes or no.
See, the product itself isn't exactly lying, but its color. Its color is definitely telling you a story. It's communicating with your brain on a subconscious level, sending these really powerful signals that change how you feel about its strength and its effectiveness. So today, we are unpacking the science behind that story.
Our first stop is this really fascinating idea from a study in the Journal of Marketing, something we can call the saturation effect. This is the key, the absolute core mechanism behind color's hidden influence.
Just take a look at these two pairs of work gloves. Which one just looks tougher, more durable, right? If you're like most people, you're pointing to the pair on the right, the one with that vibrant, supersaturated yellow. And believe me, there's a powerful reason for that, and it goes way beyond just aesthetic. And this is really the heart of it. The research shows that we consistently think a product is more powerful just based on how vivid its color is. A more saturated color makes our brain jump to a really simple conclusion: this has to be stronger stuff. And this doesn't just apply to the soap or the cleaner itself, but to the bottle it's in, the box, even the ads you see for it. And this isn't just a feeling. It actually changes how we behave. In one experiment, researchers put out two different hand sanitizer dispensers. The only difference was the color saturation of the gel inside. And the results, they were so clear. People used way less of the highly saturated sanitizer. Why? Because they thought it was so much more potent that they just didn't need as much to get their hands clean. Okay, so that leads to the big question, right? Why? Why does this happen? What is going on inside our heads that makes us connect a deep, rich color with pure power? Let's get into the psychology of it. Researchers have a name for this. They call it the potency inference. And really, it's a mental shortcut that we don't even know we're taking. Our brains are basically wired through a mix of nature and culture to see rich color as a sign of concentration, of purity, of strength. You know, think of a deep, red, juicy-looking berry versus a pale, washed-out one. You automatically know which one's going to be better. Well, we apply that same exact logic to the stuff we buy in the store. But, and this is a really important twist, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It totally depends on what you, the consumer, are trying to do. So, if you're looking for a heavy-duty cleaner for a tough stain, your brain is going to be looking for that high saturation. That's the signal for effective. But if you're shopping for, say, a gentle face wash, you'd probably see a product with a really pale, muted color as being more effective for that specific goal, because we connect those muted tones with being mild and gentle. So now that we get the psychology, the really crucial part is understanding how this tool can be used, both for good and, well, where it can get kind of dicey. This takes us from the why it happens to the so what do we do about it, the practical side of things, and the very real ethical lines we need to think about. For brands, there are a couple of really constructive ways to use this. First, obviously, if you want to shout, "This product is powerful," using highly saturated colors is a direct line to your customer's brain. But second, and this is pretty cool, for products that we all tend to overuse, like laundry detergent or dish soap, using a vibrant color can actually promote sustainability. It encourages people to use a little less because they think it's stronger. However, and I really have to stress this part, this exact same effect can be dangerous. When that feeling of potency leads to someone using less of a product where the dose is critical, you've got a serious problem on your hands. This is where you have to draw a hard line. You should absolutely avoid using high saturation for things like medications, disinfectants, or any kind of public health product. Think about it. If a disinfectant seems so powerful that people use too little of it or dilute it too much, it might not work properly. In a hospital or during a health crisis, that's a huge deal. The same goes for medicine, where taking too little can be just as bad as taking too much. So, what's the fix? Well, the study suggests the surprisingly simple solution. Just use words. Clear, direct messaging. A simple phrase right on the label, something like, "Same powerful formula without added dyes can completely override the brain's gut reaction to the color." It replaces that subconscious assumption with a hard fact, making sure people use the product the right way.
So let's zoom out for a second, because all of this points to a much, much bigger idea. This isn't just about picking the right shade of blue for a bottle. This is about the fundamental relationship between design, how a product works, and the trust you build with people. When you really boil it all down, all these findings point to one single core principle for anyone who designs or sells a product. And that principle is this: good design is not just about making things look pretty. It's about making sure the visual promise you're making aligns with how the product actually works. It's about building trust. Because when a color sends a message that the product can't back up, or worse, a message that leads to it being misused, that trust gets broken. So let's just quickly recap the main takeaways. Saturated colors make us think power. That feeling affects how much of a product we choose and how much we use. This can be a smart tool for marketers to signal efficacy or even help with sustainability. But, and this is the big one, it's a tool that has to be avoided whenever underuse could be harmful.
And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. If something as simple as the vividness of a color can influence you this much, what else on the shelf, in the ads, and on the packaging is quietly persuading you every single day? Kind of makes you look at the whole world a little differently, doesn't it?